Hi, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on using SAVI cards in the classroom. My name is Charlie Gilbert, and I am the author of the SAVI Singing Actor, and I'm joined by my teaching partner and my wife, my life partner, Darcy Webb. Hey, Darcy.
Hey. Hey, how are you people?
Good, good. And today we're talking about SAVI cards, and we're talking about teaching with SAVI cards. So what are SAVI cards? If you were at the Educational Theater Conference in New York last weekend, you got your own set of those as a gift, and perhaps you opened them up and you were wondering about what they were. But for me, SAVI cards are really like having your own musical theater coach in a box, a coach in a box that is designed to help you master the essential skills that are at the heart of great singing acting, which is to say creating behavior that communicates the dramatic event and organizing that behavior phrase by phrase alongside with music. SAVI cards are a featured component of the SAVI system of singing acting described in the book, The SAVI Singing Actor, and SAVI is an acronym that describes those 4 characteristics of effective singing acting. SAVI cards are designed to make your work more specific, more authentic, more varied, and more intense. By specific, we mean work that is filled with brave, bold choices. Authentic, of course, we mean that sense of personal truth that is so important to a song. Varied means that we need to have new choices for every step of the journey of the song. In most cases, that means a new choice for every phrase. And when we're talking about intensity, we're talking about larger than life with strength and stamina and control. So that's what SAVI stands for. And the SAVI cards were developed as part of a way to help your students build those qualities in their work. So we're going to take a quick walkthrough of all of the different kinds of cards. There are 8 different kinds of cards, 8 different categories of cards. They're all color-coded on the back. Darcy's going to show you some of them. What are the kinds of SAVI cards? Well, there are 8 of them. The first one of them is the orange cards, which are the action verb cards. Darcy, what are some of the action verbs that you've got there?
To encourage, to instruct,
what I'm doing today.
To entice.
Ooh, you
to
like that,
enchant,
don't you?
frighten,
Right.
to plead. So you, yeah.
Lots of different action verbs here. Action verbs are really a thing that should be familiar to you if you've studied any kind of Stanislavski-based approach. Stanislavski likes to talk about the reality of doing his method of physical action. You play an action to make something happen, and that's fundamental to creating believable behavior on stage. Then we have some blue cards. The blue cards are adverb cards. And what are some of the adverb cards we have? There are a bunch of them.
Shy, ecstatic, playful, scornful, worried, serene.
Right. These are cards that describe how you do something and how you would use your face or your voice or your body to truthfully express that quality. The red cards, the next category of cards, the red cards are emotion cards, and these are there to remind you of the full range of feelings that you're capable of expressing with your face, your voice, and your body. So what's an example of what's on an emotion card?
I don't know, you're going to do it.
Well,
rage.
Oh, come on.
Joy. Fear. You get the drift.
Yeah, you get the drift. And each one of these emotion cards has a certain kind of breath that goes with it, a certain kind of way that the face and eyes work. Yellow cards are one of my favorites. They are subtext cards. Subtext cards ask you the question, ask you to consider how would you behave if the words on this card were your unspoken thoughts. Darcy, you want to give us an example of this? Are you giving me some subtext there from?
Subtext.
I'm getting the subtext from you there, right? Right. And so what is that?
Can I trust you?
You can trust me, of course. And another one again, just non-verbally. What's on that card?
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand. All right. So these are, and there are a bunch of these. They're all short phrases that have powerful emotions behind them, and we look for ways that they can be translated into behavior in the face.
I love these. These are my favorite.
The voice. We'll work with these
I
more.
think you can play with.
Yeah, as we go along here. The picture cards. There's a big bunch of lavender cards, and they are picture cards. We have 5 different picture models, and we have tons and tons of pictures of actors who are living expressively, behaving expressively. There's an example of a picture card.
Here's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one.
All right. So sometimes they usually involve very strong facial expressions and also gestures as well. What are you supposed to do when you have a picture card? Well, you can imitate what's on that card. You can also respond to that card. If you see a card where somebody's really seems to be doing something very strongly, that might provoke a response in you. So you can imitate. The green cards are adjustment cards, and they propose that you make a change in how you're using your face or your voice or your body, right?
This was always really important to me because this is one of the most common habits that all performers have, is that they shorten the back of their neck. And when they do that, so much of what they're doing is compromised in addition to their voice. And so I always say to my students, let the back of the neck be free. Right. And that's what that card is right there.
Right, so there she is in the picture. You see Darcy, the picture with Jelani, kind of reminding him to allow his neck to be free. And that's it's so important for singers, because when you're singing, often you're lifting your chin or you're thrusting your face forward. I show that when you're singing, how you would kind of jut your face forward to add, to make something. Yes. So it's such a common thing for singers to do, that distortion of the alignment. We want to remind people not to do that. All right, but that's not the only kind of adjustment that we have there. A lot of these.
Change your stance.
Change your stance.
I came across this card just a second ago and thought, yeah, change your stance.
Right. Right. Your feet are not nailed to the floor. Remember that it's always good to adjust your stance, or another adjustment might be to make your work, to move your eyes.
Yeah, do you want to talk about this?
Yes, yeah. One of the most important skills that singing actors have is the ability to use their eyes expressively. Take my glasses off so you can see my eyes, so you can see what I'm talking about here. The eyes have their own language, and the eyes are really considered the mirror of the soul. So when you move your eyes, it suggests that you're thinking, that there's a thought going on. I'm looking for the way to tell you how to explain this to you, right? And my eyes have a language of their own. Well, when we're involved in everyday behavior, it's really natural to use your eyes. But when you're singing and you're looking at that imaginary partner or that X on the wall, or when you're like doing what I'm doing now, talking to a camera, often our eyes kind of get stuck in one place. So it's really helpful just to be able to move your eyes and then move them away and then move them back, or move them to another place too.
It's actually something that we do all the time, and we don't realize it. Every single time we have a new thought, we tend to shift our focus and then come back to who it is we're talking to. So many times when a singer is singing and they're focused on that X on the wall, they're not moving their eyes at all. They're just staring.
Right.
But at the onset of each new idea or thought or phrase within the song, just shift your focus a little bit and come back. Or take a gesture.
Right. So that's
it becomes much more alive.
Right. So that card is there to remind you of that, and there's much more about the eyes and the language of the eyes in the book, but the cards give you a chance to practice that. Those yellow-green cards are called music and voice cards, and those are cards that prompt you to make a change or an adjustment in your musical interpretation, right? To put an accent in, or to keep your rhythm really strict and steady, or give me another example of one that you're looking at there.
More beautiful.
More beautiful, that sometimes you need to sing very beautifully, but other times it's helpful to be reminded that sometimes you can sing more grotesquely or more what?
Well, here's one that says freer rhythms.
Freer rhythms, right? So not necessarily following everything that's on the page, super strict, joyful, joyful, we are.
More grotesque.
Oh, God of glory, God of, right? So the cards,
Variety.
music and voice cards are another way to make changes and create variety. Remember, V is for variety, which is a super important attribute of successful singing acting. And then the 8th category is the rainbow cards. They are the custom cards because they are blank. There's nothing written on them until you write something on them yourselves. But as you work with the cards, you'll have ideas, things that you want to do with the cards.
One of the ways I think that I would use these is that I would probably paste something on here that was meaningful to a particular moment, that would sort of jumpstart an emotion or a feeling.
Well, so those are the 8 different kinds of cards. And now let's imagine that you're going to work with them and work with your students with these cards in a classroom situation. So one of the first things you might do as a way of introducing them, just kind of breaking the ice, is have all of your students stand in a circle in the group and hand some cards around. And before you even start singing, maybe say, okay, we're going to just try a little bit of spoken text and try out some of these cards. So let me see, why don't we grab a couple of blue cards, for instance, and imagine that we've handed these around the circle, and you're just going to recite letters of the alphabet. And as you do that, you're just going to use some of the things that are on those blue cards, right? So you're imagine that Darcy is one of your students and you're doing this and they're just speaking letters of the alphabet like this.
And speaking, right?
Yes.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh, I switched.
And then another one.
G. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
And another one.
Q, R, S, T, U, V.
Okay, and so on, so that you can have them hand them around, like have everybody pass to the right or pass to the left, so that they get right away that idea that the card is there to prompt you to make a change, stimulate you to do something that is particular and different than what you were going to do before. You could also do the same thing with gibberish, for instance. Let's try a little gibberish, but let's try this with the orange cards, which are the action verb cards. So grab a couple of action verbs, and
How many do you want me to
let's try 3. Is going to be. Again, imagine that your students are all in a circle and that you invite them to speak gibberish talk.
Yeah, you've done gibberish.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done gibberish.
And it's a little hard to get them started, but if you can demonstrate and then have them do it in a group, eventually they start to feel a little more comfortable doing it.
And then the cards, like these action verb cards, might become catalysts for how you could go farther with this. So, Darce, can you gibberish a little bit with those cards there? Next card. Right, and one more card. Right, terrific, terrific. So one of the things that you might want to get yourself while you're working in the circle is one of these guys, or something that you can use to give your students an audible signal when it's time to change cards. Right, so this desk bell here is a favorite tool of mine that I use in the classroom. So if Darcy was using those cards, or you had a group of students, imagine a group of students in a circle and they were using those cards when you gave the signal, then everybody would know that it's time to pass their card to the right. They get a new card from the person on their left. They have a new idea, and then they begin again in a way that is different from what they were doing a moment before. So this is here, it's just kind of out of the frame right now, but you may hear me, see me do that, or hear me do that as we go along. So at this point, your students should be feeling free and easy. We haven't even done any singing yet to kind of make them self-conscious, but let's think now about a simple phrase that you might use in a music warm-up, like a singing warm-up. Imagine you would be working and you would sing, have the whole group sing, "May me mama," and then we're going to go up and have our swim. Let's you and I sing this, and "May me mama," and then a half step and "May me mama." Right, we've done this a million times, right? With people in a circle, they say, "Oh, we want to do a vocal warm-up before we do any singing." So you start to do that, but now let's add in some cards and just see what happens. Darcy, grab some blue cards, some adverb cards here. Different one here. So each time we get to the new phrase, Darcy's going to flip to a new card. All right, I'll say 1, 2, ready, and. Flip over to the next card, and great, and the next one, and try one more, right? And, or you know, use them up. Great, and those are some simple ways to kind of introduce the cards in speaking and singing to break the ice. And if you do that over and over, students become more comfortable doing what Darcy does so well, which is creating expressive behavior with the voice, with the face, and with the body while they sing. The goal is to have this be a habit for your students, right? That they're never just vanilla.
I think the other thing that these exercises do is that it gives them permission to be more than just their voice, to really tell the story, because a lot of times people are afraid to make ugly sounds. They're afraid to make varied sounds,
right.
You know, because they've been working with a voice teacher who's teaching them to, you know, to do all the right things vocally.
So much of what goes on in singing world and music world is about right and wrong, and usually it's wrong, right? When you're taking a lesson or you're learning to sing, you're learning to play an instrument, a lot of the messages you get were, no, don't do that, that's wrong. And so you kind of live in a place of tension and a place of apprehension, and the cards begin to peel some of that away and give you permission to play. To
really live.
Right. And as you see, even in these little demonstrations that Darcy's doing right now, there's just a wonderful spirit of play that comes when you open up this box and you start to work with these cards. I think of them not as a one-off novelty, but something that is really part of the training that you do, because you're trying to build a habit in your students in the same way that a ballet teacher leads a ballet bar at the beginning of every ballet class, trying to get them to acquire the habit of holding their arms in a certain way and their torso in a certain way, and to use their feet in a certain kind of way, and to be able to coordinate certain kinds of activities. So often I will spend the first 10 or 15 minutes of a class doing warm-up work, doing conditioning work, just like, think of it like athletic training or like a ballet bar. An ideal warm-up at the beginning of a class or rehearsal includes not just singing, but attention paid to all of the different things that you use to communicate: your face, your body, your emotions, your breath. And using the cards creates variety and stimulates the dramatic imagination and creative behavior choices during the warm-up. There is a warm-up table in the book that shows 8 different categories. I'm going to talk through them now and just remind you that the cards can be used with any of them. Often the warm-up begins with the breath, with using the breath in a dynamic way that is appropriate for singing, and using things like an emotion card while you're doing a breath warm-up. So using the breath with different kinds of dramatic imagination is a great thing to do as part of a warm-up. Vocal play, vocalizing and vocal play, I think we've already touched a little bit on that, but the emotion cards, the subtext cards, the action verbs, the adverbs, the music and voice cards, all of those are really, really helpful when you're warming up and you want to get students to use their voices in a more playful way. The face and eyes are super important to warm up as at the beginning of a rehearsal or a class, and to condition your students to use your face and your eyes more expressively. So often that means stretching out the muscles of the face. I'm going to ask Doris to gurn for you for a minute. I'm going to turn on her camera because she's just a champion gurner.
Champion gurner.
Right. We're going to just, so you might ask your students to do a little facial flex. You're going to work on facial mobility, right? The forehead, the eyebrows, the muscles around the eyes, the muscles around the nose, the muscles of the cheeks, the lips.
And I actually go through them one at a time with my students, where I will isolate the eyebrows, I have them raise them and lower them, and one or the other, wrinkle their nose, lift their cheeks.
Right.
It's because it's really developing this awareness to the muscles in the face.
Right. And the cards, especially the picture cards, are super cool for getting them to do face and eyes. Darcy, can you show with a purple card, like how you might use that purple card to inspire you while you're doing your facial flex, make your face do what's on that card. Right, and then another one, right, or yes, how about one more? Great, great. So that, imagine that your students are working in a circle, and you've got purple cards you can hand around so that they're practicing really turning on their faces and using their faces. So I call that inhabiting the choice, right? You put the face on, you put that mask on, and then you kind of live inside it. You let it affect you. There's plenty of research that shows that when you move you make a facial expression, that it does alter what's going on in your emotions as well. Neck and alignment, using those picture cards, you want to side coach your students to be careful that they're not distorting their alignment, so that as you make a very intense face, that you may say, now hold that face, but allow the neck
and you can
to
probably
be free.
Actually, from this angle, you can watch me do this if I.
The picture card has a lot, yeah. And now,
yeah,
allow your free.
As opposed to.
Do that and free your neck. So you want an awareness of the neck, and then things that you can do to free the neck, just to kind of get, so that you can keep it free when you're using your face. Fifth one, articulators. We need to do things to get the muscles involved, the muscles of articulation going. So speaking phrases of text. This is a place where you can use the subtext cards as text, or you can write yourself some tongue twisters on your custom cards and practice moving all of those muscles of articulation. In the book, there's a whole list of them and some things that you can do for that. Gestures and movement. Well, the picture cards and the adjustment cards have some suggestions about how to use gesture and movement, because when you vocalize, you want to not just be a statue, but you want to be able to gesture, change your body language, change your stance, walk into space if you choose to do that. You're not just a stiff and stolid statue. And then we begin to put those things together. So all of that is part of the warm-up or the conditioning that you would do at the beginning of a class. So we're going to work on a little bit of a SAVI etude. Here I am, right? So this is the sheet music. I'm showing you the sheet music for Here I Am. And what I would do with the class is, first of all, I teach this to them. It's super easy to learn. It sounds like this. Then we all sing. Here I am. Here I am. If you notice in the music, there's this little thing here, this little 1, 2 with the triangle there. That's the moment where you make the change. So you can invite your students to make a choice for each Here I Am, each one of those 2 measure phrases. Let's do this with the subtext cards, okay? In this first one, I'm going to ask you just to do it silently. I'm going to play the music and look at the camera and silently do that subtext, all right? Now add the song phrase.
Here I am.
And the next card, silently. And sing it.
Here I am.
Go to the next card now. This time we're going to do silently and then sing it twice. Right? So we want to sing silently, sing it, and then intensify it a little bit the next time through. Okay?
Silently sing it, intensify it.
Right. Right. Ready? Silently. She's playing that subtext and letting it be evident in her behavior. Then she sings.
Here I am.
Do it again with a little more.
Here I am.
And so on. You want to really encourage your students to behave as if that thought, that bit of subtext was their thought. So they're practicing singing and behaving truthfully and allowing their inner life to be manifest in their outward behavior while they're singing. And it's a great workout and a great way to practice coordination and practice all of the elements of SAVI. Another exercise that you might do in the classroom is one that involves the ABC song. That's a favorite etude of mine, and it's one that your students are likely to know because we all grew up singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star as children. Let's do this with some action verb cards, okay? Some orange cards.
Okay.
All right, so just a handful of those, and they maybe like shuffle them up so they're just going to come at you at random. And every
How many do you want?
Well, the song has 6 phrases in it, so let's get 3. And we're going to do each one 2 phrases on each of those action verbs.
2 phrases on each of
So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's a phrase, right? And the same action, but with a little more intensity. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Right. Then the next card, the next action, Q, R, S, T, U, V.
Got it.
Same action, but intensified a little bit. And then the last one. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So a little introduction. Let's see.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
Next card.
Q, R, S, T, U, V.
Intensify.
W, X, and Y, and Z.
And the third card.
Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
So in a group, that certainly works really well. And then we could even get three more now. So you have 6 altogether. And we'll do one for each of the 6 phrases. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, change, and so on, right? Right.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Next card.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
Next one.
Q, R, S, T, U, V.
Next one.
W, X, and Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? That was entice.
Oh, and it was very enticing. Yes, very good. So doing this in a solo format today, and so it's possible. I mean, we've performed together a bunch, and so I just can't help myself when Darcy starts to interpret. Then I follow along at the piano, trying to support that. When you're accompanying, or your piano player is accompanying in the class, they'll get the hang of knowing just how much to do or not do to follow along, to keep in a steady tempo and push things along, or to be flexible and try and go with the flow of what's going on. These are etudes, in that they're songs that aren't really songs. That is, they're not songs that you'd ever really want to perform. Just as in the ballet class, remember, the combination that you're doing is not Swan Lake, it's just some, series of steps that you're working on to address issues of coordination and issues of technique and so on. So the etudes are a great in-between step, or second step in a classroom structure, before we actually get to working on repertoire in the class. In the last part of the class, you'll probably want to address repertoire. So I want to show you in the last part of our demonstration today how you might use SAVI cards for repertoire preparation, that is, assigning the cards to the phrases of a song and then practicing using those behavior prompts while you're working on the song. I'm going to show you the song that we're going to work on today, a little 16 bars from a Kander and Ebb song called My Own Space. And one of the things that we do in the workshop is we have students identify where the dings are, that is, where one thought ends, one phrase ends, and where the next one begins. We're going to sing through, Darcy and I, we're together, we'll sing through this in case you're not familiar with it, and invite you to think about where one phrase begins and the next one, the previous one, ends, okay? Right, so we don't want to sing a ballad, any ballad. This is a ballad here, right? You see it's marked slowly at the top. We don't want to sing a ballad with a wash of beautiful emotion and feeling, but instead we want to treat it like it was a series of thoughts, specific thoughts that have some drama to them. So let's hear the song first of all, so that we know what we're talking about, right? Ready, set. I won't need much, just my own space, a little time in my own thoughts, in my own space. Just leave me that, sweet love of mine. Just leave me that, just my own space, and we'll be fine.
You can see, you can hear how easily it would be to slip into something. It's very
right. I call that the ballad trap, right? And we fall into that sauce of mood, that kind of apple saucy, everything is the same as everything else feeling. But now, can I give this to you and ask you to play the sound of the desk bell each place where you think a new phrase begins, where a change might be inserted into the song. So first one is going to be right here, right on the quarter note before the first time we sing. Ready, set, ding. I won't need much, just my own space, a little time with my own thoughts in my own space. Just leave me that, sweet love of mine. Just leave me that, just my own space, and we'll be fine. Great. Well done.
well done.
Well dinged, right? So that's when I say you have to ding it before you sing it. That what I mean is that you have to, as part of your preparation, you have to divide the song up into phrases, and then we're going to practice using a new card for each phrase. So let's use one each of a couple of kinds of cards. So let's have an action verb, an orange card. Let's have a subtext, which is a yellow card. And let's have an adverb, a blue card, right? And you can do this in all different sorts of ways. But here we got, you know, we're mixing categories together. And how did you do pulling 3 cards at random for the first 3? Do they seem kind of different?
Oh.
Are they different enough?
Oh, they're so different.
Okay, so we want them to, randomness is kind of cool at this stage of the exercise because we're looking for variety and we're looking for new ways of thinking. So sometimes things that are strange or really different and unexpected can really get your creative juices flowing, get you thinking about the other ways that the song can be. First phrase of the song, just the first phrase with the first card, okay? Ready, set, and.
I won't need much.
Great. So one phrase, one card, begins and it ends. Let's do that once more, just like that. One phrase, one card. Ready, set, and.
I won't need much.
Great. Let's do that once more. All of that is great. We're just going to intensify a tiny bit more. If it can be a little bit more of whatever it is you're doing. Right. Ready, and set, and.
I won't need much.
Great. You want to show that card? Well, you're working from there. It is shy, right? So shy, more shy in the voice, more shy in the face, more shy in the body.
In the body?
Yes, right. Now the next second phrase, new card, we're not going to show you, but we're going to just do just my own space with this second card. Ready, set, and go.
Just my own space.
Good. Let's do that one again. The second phrase, ready, and set, and.
Just my own space.
And again, that second phrase, just really making it clear and distinct what that is. Ready, set, and go.
Just my own space.
Great. And you want to show that one so we know what we're dealing with there. This to instruct. All right, so let's put them together now. Let's chain them together. Each one of those choices, the first choice, shy, the second choice, to instruct. Okay, ready, set, and go.
I won't need much, just my own space.
Great. Again, let's do the 2 of them in sequence. Really pay attention to that moment where you change. It's shy until suddenly it's the next thing, right? And there's an impulse to make that change, right? So first one, ready, set, and go.
I won't need much.
Here's the change.
Just my own space.
Right, notice how we're working slowly, deliberately. Let's go on to the third phrase, third card. A little time. 3 and 4 and 1.
A little time with my own thoughts in my own space.
Great, that one's longer, right? It's twice as long. Let's give it another try. Ready, set, and go.
A little time with my own thoughts in my own space.
All right, let's try that one more time, just really making that one clear. Ready, set, and go.
A little time with my own thoughts in my own space.
Great. So, and that one's the what you have for that was, I can't read.
You've got to believe.
You've got to believe me. All right. So we've got shy, we've got to instruct, and we've got you've got to believe me. Those are our 3 cards for those 3 phrases. Let's try and put them together now. We're not trying to smooth anything out or blend anything together. We want the 3 to be really distinct. Right. Sometimes like one thing at a time. Ready, set, and go.
I won't need much,
Next thing.
just my own space. A little time with my own thoughts in my own space. working on a song and I'm working, and I do work it phrase by phrase, I could do one phrase 20 times until I'm really satisfied with it.
Yeah, and repetition is such a key strategy for building confidence and for building authenticity, really, going deeper and deeper into that particular choice, committing to it more fully each time. And each phrase or each little section requires that kind of attention. If you start linking things together and letting things flow and running through the song without having specific concepts for each phrase, specific choices for each phrase, then it just turns into something general and mushy and applesaucey and is much, much less interesting. Great. Let's see if this will work here. I'm going to just try and show you a tiny little bit of video of some people doing this doing this exercise in a workshop here.
We're going to use that first card for that first phrase. Ready? The first phrase is, I won't need much. And the second card now for the second phrase, just my own space. And the third card for the third phrase, a little time with my own thoughts in my own space. All right, so that's the plan here, right? The 3 cards and 3 phrases. Again, you're starting to sing along already. That's great. Let's sing now. And 1. I won't need much. And the second card, just my own space. And the third card, a little time with my own thoughts in my own space.
All right, it was really great. Now I know this feels slow, right? It feels really methodical and slow and deliberate, but that's the thing I would love for you to be able to pass on to your students as a strategy for success, is that there's no value in rushing through it. Beverly Sills says there's no shortcut to any place worth going. That's a quote that I use in the book, and it's a quote that I'm very fond of here. So slowing things down, working phrase by phrase, using the cards for repertoire preparation, that's a super productive process. Sometimes you can use random selections to shake it up, shake up the box, get some new ideas going. But usually what will happen is you'll start to zero in on the ones that work best for you and that you'll decide you want to make part of the routine every time that you do the song. And then you'll, when you find a sequence or a progression that you like, make some notes on your sheet music about what those are so that you can then practice executing them in order. When your students work with SAVI cards, they are acquiring the habit, developing a habit, the habit of creating behavior while they sing, and developing the habit of organizing that behavior according to the phrases of the music. They're expanding the range of behavior options available to them. It's like having more outfits in your closet, not just that one beige jacket, but a whole range of things. They're strengthening the connection between what they feel inside and what they show on the outside. Remember, that's a two-way street. And that you're helping them build the skills that they need to craft a complete performance, not just beautiful singing, but a complete singing, acting performance. We've covered a lot of material about the SAVI cards. If there's more that you want to know about that, shoot us an email and we'll be glad to answer questions along the way. Also, you can read a lot more about that, of course, in the book, The SAVI Singing Actor. It's available through the SAVI store, store.savisingingactor.com. If you've read the book and you find the book helpful, leave us a review on Amazon for that. And we'd love to come and do workshops as well. We really enjoy sharing this with students and with teachers both, trying to get more people to be aware of this tool and working with it. All right, well, this was fun. We really enjoyed sharing this with you. We'd love to hear from you on the website or on the internet, and we'll see you at a workshop sometime soon.